Why are students protesting in Bangladesh? Protests erupted after a Bangladesh High Court ruling to reinstate the contentious 30% quota in government jobs for freedom fighters and their descendants. Bangladesh announced it will indefinitely shut down all public and private universities from Wednesday, July 17th, after massive countrywide protests against a controversial quota system in government jobs have left at least 6 dead and over 400 injured. The protests erupted in the wake of a June 5th ruling by the Bangladesh High Court reinstating the 30% quota for freedom fighters and their descendants in government jobs, which was repealed in 2018 after a massive agitation led by students and teachers. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, on Sunday, further added fuel to the fire by referring to the protesters as razakars, a derogatory Bangla word for traitors, with some grim historical baggage. A controversial quota system. Government jobs in Bangladesh are highly coveted as a stable and lucrative source of income. According to AP, nearly 400,000 graduates compete every year for around 3,000 such jobs. Until 2018, 56% of government jobs were reserved for various categories. The majority, 30%, were reserved for family members of veterans who had fought for Bangladesh's liberation in 1971. Women and people from underdeveloped districts enjoyed 10% reservation each. Members of tribal communities got 5%, and 1% was reserved for persons with disabilities. This left only 44% of all openings available for open admission. The freedom fighters quota was particularly contentious since many people perceived it to be favoring those loyal to Hasina's party, the Awami League, which headed the Bangladeshi liberation struggle. Adding to people's frustrations were the special examinations for quota candidates, varying age limits for each category, and the fact that there remained many vacancies in quota seats even as eligible candidates in the merit list were unemployed. In April 2018, students and teachers embarked on a 4-month-long protest demanding the removal of these conditions and a reduction in the overall reservation to 10%. Violence ensued, with protesters coming to blows with the Bangladesh Chhatra League, the student wing of the ruling Awami League, and the police. Following an international outcry, Hasina announced the removal of all quotas. A court ruling and massive protests. On June 5, 2024, the High Court Division of the Bangladesh Supreme Court ordered the overturning of the 2018 order repealing all reservations, particularly the contentious 30% freedom fighters quota. While early resistance made itself known in Dhaka in June, larger protests picked up after Eid al-Adha festivities ended on June 17th. The countrywide Bangla Band came into effect on July 7th, even as the appellate division of the Supreme Court stayed the implementation of the order for a month. Protesters have this time demanded the removal of discriminatory quotas from all grades, to limit the overall reservation to 5% for backward populations as identified in the Constitution, and to pass a bill in Parliament to secure this change. In effect, this amounts to a removal of the quota, empowering the families of freedom fighters, while retaining quota benefits for physically disabled and tribal people. Protests took a violent turn on Monday with clashes between the anti-quota protesters and the BCL and police at various universities across the country. At least 6 persons, including 3 students, were killed, prompting the indefinite closure of all educational institutes across Bangladesh. The higher secondary certificate exam, scheduled to be held on Thursday, has also been canceled. The border guard has been deployed at various locations across the country. Stefan Dujarric, The spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary-General on Tuesday implored the Bangladesh government to seek a peaceful resolution and to recognize the right of the protesters to demonstrate peacefully. Hasina's Razakar jibe. So far, however, Hasina has done little to calm things down. Instead, her comments have only made the situation worse. Are the children and grandchildren of freedom fighters not talented? Are only the children and grandchildren of the Razakars talented? She said in a press conference on Sunday. Over the years, the Awami League, Hasina's party, has often referred to its government's critics and dissidents as Razakars, evoking the brutal collaborationists who raped and massacred Bengali civilians during the Liberation War. The Razakars, literally volunteers, were a paramilitary force set up by General Tika Khan in 1971 to facilitate Islamabad's control of East Pakistan and curb the ongoing liberation movement headed by the Awami League. Working alongside the Pakistani armed forces, the collaborationist Razakars were behind some of the worst atrocities perpetrated during the war. In Bangladeshi memory, these collaborators are remembered with greater resentment than even the Pakistani army and bureaucracy. However, following Hasina's Razakar jibe, and this is not the first time she has spoken on these lines, protesters attempted to sarcastically co-opt the term, "Who are you? Who am I? Razakar, Razakar," echoing across the protests. Another slogan went, "Chait Jilamadakar, Bon Galam Razakar," loose translation, "We are being called traitors for asking for our rights." This in turn has spurred the BCL, with police support, to violently crack down on protesters. Things have gone further south since then. Kindly drop your thoughts in comment box and kindly subscribe our GeoZone Media channel. Thank you.